You have Hang Seng on your screen, which is actually suffering the biggest cut right now. It's almost 1% lower, 200 points gone on the Hong Kong market.
Inflation was only a tenth above expectations in January. Core was in line.
It's positive that we continue to see inflation move lower. I think you can't deny that everything's moving in the right direction.
That's the first take on the index. It's lackluster, you'd have to say. The Nifty is down about 40 points.
The broad results are in line with market, but that's only because of superlative performance from banking and financial services.
It's very important that we get volumes, and critical volumes are very important to scale the business.
I think what we are dealing with is a situation where inflation is turning out to be quite sticky.
We're flat right now, but we're off about 65 points from the day's low.
A majority of the lenders have selected NARCL, or the National Asset Reconstruction Company, as the winning bidder.
Monetizing a valuable asset like Sinji is a very important way of creating value for building another business.
These orders are the largest ever placed by any carrier in the world of commercial aviation.
We are off around 70 points from the lows.
Well, that was the day so far. A quick recap of what has happened till now, but this is the last hour of trade. We are coming to you live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. Another edition of Closing Bell over the next 1 hour. I'm Prashant, with me my colleagues Reema and Surabhi here in the studio, and Nigel, of course, as always, with us from the newsroom floor. Guys, hi, good afternoon. Treading water, directionless, and not really running away in either direction. I think that's perhaps the best way to put things. But, you know, off the lows, that's, I think, the other thing to say about the market. The early morning lows were just that, early morning, and then after that, the markets sort of come up sharply and did not look back after that. Today's high and yesterday's high are pretty similar, 17,960, not quite 60. Today's high is higher than yesterday's, but as we were saying yesterday as well, 17,960 is basically the upper end of that rising channel, which starts from the 3rd of February. It's a near-term right, but it's a rising channel, and the upper end falls at 17,960, and a close above it is 20 points. I mean, could happen. I think would be good. A solid close above it, perhaps opens up more. Banks are doing a little worse off as compared to the Nifty, and private banks perhaps is the pocket to blame there. Otherwise, I mean, IT and autos are sectors where you're finding gainers. And apart from private banks, FMCG and pharma are two areas where there is some loss. Overall market breadth is again negative, and I think this is becoming a bit of a not trend, but for 3 or 4 days now, even whatever the Nifty has done, the broader market breadth has been negative, and substantially so. And I think that is something to pay attention to as well. Although I think it's come up. This is the NSE advanced decline, almost 1:1 now. It was wider earlier on in the morning. Guys, hi.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. The bulls would have wanted a follow-on rally, right? Yesterday was a good session, at least for the benchmark indices. They would have hoped for another strong session, which would have helped us break out of that range, but that's not happened. We've managed to recover from the day's low, but we're still very much on the flat line, which means the resistance levels of the 100-day moving average and the budget session high of 17,972 still very much hold. We are hitting the upper end of the trading band, but not yet quite conquered it. Asian markets were fairly weak. So markets like Korean markets, Hang Seng, Taiwanese markets were down 1.5%. In contrast, the European markets are holding up, so it's firm for the CAC and the DAX. The FTSE is pretty much on the flat line. Some of the gainers today include Reliance Industries gaining for the second day in a row. Apollo Hospitals, big recovery post the conversation with CNBC-TV18. So Apollo Hospitals is now one of the top gainers. Eicher Motors again recovering from the losses yesterday, and in the IT pack, it's Tech Mahindra leading from the front. On the losing side, you've got FMCG dragging its feet. ITC HUL, HDFC Limited is subdued. That's the heavyweight dragging the markets down, and ONGC post numbers.
Well, let's just pull up that Nifty chart once again, because if you leave out the first, half an hour of volatility, 10 a.m. onwards, this chart has been hovering in a 50-point range. That's as narrow as it has been today, really. Now, on the flip side, pull up the Bank Nifty chart, and that's where there seems to be a problem, from the bulls' perspective, because banks are beginning to be a bit of a drag, and the Bank Nifty has been far weaker than the Nifty for, most parts of the session. It's at pretty much the lows of the day right now, and that's evident in a lot of the larger stocks, whether you're looking at an SBI, ICICI, HDFC Bank. or even some of the others, the tier 2 names. Basically, bank stocks quite weak. It's all about individual stock action, Nigel, really. I mean, that's where the big headlines are in the mid-cap arena.
Well, that's right. Earlier this morning, we made this point that the Nifty, it seems it has some unfinished business at higher levels. And that's why from the lows of the day, well, data suggested that we could see a buy on dip. And that's precisely the way it's played out today. So the Nifty has done well. The Nifty Bank has not done much today. But the IT index, it's moving in tandem with the NASDAQ. So for the second day running, the IT index is doing an outperformance. And remember, the NASDAQ as well did do pretty well in the last couple of sessions. So you may want to say that it's not directly comparable or whatever that is. But otherwise, in fact, they're definitely moving in tandem on a day-to-day basis. So just keep that in mind. Looking at the options data, 17,800 put is seeing writing, 17,900 put as well as seeing writing. And, the options data suggests that maybe expiry could be, could protect around that 17,800, 17,850 odd mark. Remember, we have weekly expiry that plays out today. However, at higher levels, the 100 DMA is a bit of a resistance. The 18,000 call as well is seeing a fair bit of writing. So that becomes a bit of a resistance zone. If you get past that 18,000 odd mark, then things could look up. Just want to point out two stocks. One is Interglobe Aviation. Just take a look at what's happened in the last 60 minutes or so. That's moved to the low point of the day. So clearly the street is sensing something on that particular counter. So keep an eye out on that one. Volume's very, very large. Interglobe Aviation as well. Big open interest build up. So that one should be on your radar. And Max Financial, that's the other one. Just take a look at the intraday chart. That as well has moved to the high point of the day. So let's see whether or not there is any news flow. But otherwise, both these two stocks, well, they're moving in different directions and particularly big moves in the last 30 minutes. Just pointing that one out.
Okay, good spot there, Nigel. Thank you very much for that. Let's tell our viewers what we've lined up on closing bell today. So from the auto space, Eicher Motors and Bharat Forge are in focus as both stocks see big moves. Eicher Motors recovers, is up 4%. On the flip side, Bharat Forge is down 4.5%. A check on what brokerages are saying.
Apollo Hospitals is the top Nifty gainer today, despite posting a weak set of third quarter results. We'll get you the fine print and exactly what it was in that management commentary, Ms. Reddy speaking to us earlier, which has caught the market's attention.
We'll put the spotlight on EKI Energy. The stock has been under pressure, down 80% from its all-time high levels. What's really happening? A quick analysis.
And of course, later on the show, we'll talk stocks and top portfolio bets with our alpha manager of the day, Aditya Sood of Incred PMS. All this and more coming up in the next 60 minutes.
Okay, almost at the high point of the day, 17,951, 52 or so is where we are at. How should you